Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Bob Scarborough.
And we are the FAIRtax
FAIRtax
guys. All right.
How about that?
Back in normal mode this week. We had to do a hurry up mode last week to get everything in with the Jameson Ellis interview. And I'll tell you what, again, let's just encourage people to, you can't be John Gaver himself, be like John Gaver. Do the same thing in your district that John is doing out there in Texas and trying to get as many candidates as possible on the FAIRtax candidate pledge.
Absolutely. And it's very easy to do because on the website, fairtax.org, is a section where you can find a PDF version, a downloadable PDF version of the FAIRtax pledge. Have a few copies of those with you. Find out where the candidates are going to be campaigning and go see them, or maybe even set up an appointment to go sit in their office and discuss with them very straightforward about the benefits of the FAIRtax, and tell them that you'll be more than happy to support them if they will be able to sign the pledge. Now, of course, FAIRtax, Americans for Fair Taxation, we're just in the education business. We're not necessarily talking about a candidate that we like or dislike, or one over the other, or recommending one to you. We're letting you know who's supporting the FAIRtax.
Absolutely. Well, let me shift gears here something and see. I bet you recognize what these are. Let's see. I got to put them in front of you.
Those are the spice cookies from Wilkerson Moravian Bakery.
Yes.
I can't believe that you have any left.
Well,
you got them earlier in the week.
I've eaten all the sugar cake, but I've still got some of these spice cookies left. But
How about the cheese straws? Did they make it down there?
Yeah, they I haven't opened those yet. I'm working on the cookies yet. I brought this up to see if we can. I have another assignment for you. These things are so good. I mean, they're little thin ginger cookies. I mean, you can barely see them if you look at them sideways, but they are so good. And the sugar cake is out of this world. Your assignment, should you choose to accept it, is to go get that. Is to go get that bakery in Winston-Salem to sign up for the FAIRtax marketplace so people all over the country can enjoy their goodies.
Great idea. That's a great idea. And I know they will do that. I will absolutely make that happen.
Oh, good.
Right, we're getting ready to come over there and get some more goodies to send down to Mr. Paxton down in Ocala, Florida.
You may send as many of those goodies as you like, but let's get back to business here on FAIRtax Power Radio. Something we didn't have time to do last week because we were talking to Jameson Ellis. A couple of weeks ago, we went through the 2021 tax proposal Hall of Shame. And so we're starting fresh in 2022, seeing what the Congress critters are trying to put into the tax code. And of course, this is halfway through the session now. And if you go to congress.gov, put the words Internal Revenue Code in quotes in their search bar and hit the go button there, you'll, as of the date we are recording this, 1,431 hits of what the Congress critters are trying to do to the tax code. And of course, the reason we do this is we try to highlight the complexity of it, the ever-changing nature of it, and in some cases, just the pure absurdity of what's in the tax code. So let me go through our first congress.gov segment of 2022 and get your reaction to some of this stuff.
All right.
We'll start with HR 6344. This is called the Research and Development Tax Credit Expansion Act of 2021. It's to amend the Internal Revenue Code to expand refundability and increase simplification of the research credit for certain small businesses. Now, does that sound like something the FAIRtax can do better?
Yeah, it's like, you get the whole complexity of the tax code out of the way and let businesses innovate and spend gobs more amount of time, if that's a technical phrase, gobs. Of time that you would save by not having to deal with the income tax. You can spend on innovation and making your business better.
You would think something as relatively simple as a tax credit, the research credit for certain small businesses, would be, fairly straightforward. You put it in, you don't have to tweak it. But now you're expanding the refundability, and here's cool, increasing the simplification of the research credit, which means it's probably a pain in the where to apply for and get and all that kind of stuff. So whatever.
Get rid of and forms. We can't forget all the forms.
Yes, Get rid of all that stuff and put away the fair tax. Here we go with the next one. HR 6339. This is the Health Coverage Tax Credit Reauthorization Act to amend the Internal Revenue Code to extend the health coverage tax credit. So there's another tax credit you're playing with. Isn't it interesting how this group gets a tax credit and this group gets a tax credit and this group gets a tax credit, but you and I don't?
All God's children gets tax credits. And it's just, but it's like you have, this group is going to have get this credit, and the other group over here is going to get something but different and not the same credit as the other group is going to get. And then some people are not going to fit into any of those categories. And so, why is that something that the tax code needs to, I mean, if everybody is unencumbered and is able to go out there and live their lives in liberty, not that the tax code prevents that, but it does encumber it to some degree. And how do you make it through to the pursuit of happiness, if you will, if you have to cycle through paying the income tax on an annual basis?
Well, of course, the deal is any tax credit you get is subject to being changed or taken away because they're always messing with it. Moving on,
yes.
HR 6318 to amend the Internal Revenue Code to extend certain tax benefits related to, get this, empowerment zones to the District of Columbia. I see I have struck you speechless.
Yes, I'm just sitting here trying to take it all in. And the empowerment zones in the District of Columbia?
To expand tax benefits related to empowerment zones to the District of Columbia. It looks like they've got empowerment zones everywhere else except in the District of Columbia, and they want to extend these empowerment zones over there into DC. Is what that looks like to me. There wasn't any text in there, so I couldn't really figure it out. And but that's what it is.
And that's probably going to take a long time. We always talk about these things, Bob, and it you have to stop and scratch your head at every one, because it appears that, and by the way, we're trying to get in touch to find out about municipal solid waste.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you've gotten a hold of Debbie Stabenow yet.
No, I've left a message with no response. I'm thinking I'm going to
imagine that.
Yeah, I'm going to write it on a letter head, and it be, Scarborough Municipal Solid Waste Consultants, and see if I can get a response. They might go, "Hey, here's somebody that's on our side."
All right.
But anyway, I'm concerned that politicians use the tax code for everything other than what it was originally intended.
This next one falls squarely into that category. And truth be told, I was debating with myself whether to talk about this one, since the abortion debate is well beyond the scope of this program, and we are not going to take sides in that rabbit hole issue one way or the other. But I decided to go ahead with this just simply to point out that if we had the fair tax rather than what we've got now, we wouldn't be using the tax code to manipulate any kind of hot button political issues. And what I'm looking at here is HR 6300. It's called the Stopping Abortion Bounties Act, filed by Representative Lizzie Fletcher in Texas. That says to amend the Internal Revenue Code to impose a tax of 100% on amounts received as statutory damages under certain lawsuits filed under state law, to require the Secretary of the Treasury to issue grants for amounts paid under such state laws and for reasonable attorney's fees. This is in response to a state law there in Texas that lets people sue abortion providers and anybody else who assists someone in getting an abortion beyond the 6th week of pregnancy. And at 6 weeks, a lot of them don't even know that they're pregnant yet. So they're basically saying, if you sue an abortion provider under a state law like Texas has, and you receive damages, we're going to take it away from you.
And again, not to delve into the moral aspects of that debate. Again, the tax code. The tax code is the tax code, and politicians are using it for everything. It's thrown in there.
So if we had the fair tax,
finding out why we are. I'm going to do it. And it'll either be a phone call next week, and I'll keep calling Stabenow to find out what's going on.
All right, one more quick one. Got to go to the Senate side for this one. S3411, a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to include expenses for certain athletic supplies in the above-the-line deduction for eligible educators, and to allow such deduction to interscholastic sports administrators and coaches. Tim Scott of South Carolina. You can thank him for that one.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know him very not well, but by acquaintance and through a second and third party. So yeah, that and again, everybody, even the folks that you would think wouldn't want to do that, it seems that that's the only way that they can get things started. The seeding ground, if you will, for bills and discussion seems to be in the tax code.
Mm-hmm. Well, I say we will continue here on FAIRtax Power Radio throughout the year to keep an eye on Congress.gov and compile us a 2022 tax proposal hall of shame. We'll go through about a year from now. I'm not sure that any of these that we've uncovered this year are going to make it, but we will do that. But that just kind of transitions into what we wanted to talk about on this edition of FAIRtax Power Radio. You've probably seen it, the memes that have been circulating on social media the past week or so. And you look at the thing and says, somebody's pulling your leg. There's no way that this possibly can be correct. It purported to be.
It's in writing.
Yes, well, you can create anything with a word processor and a digital photo editing program, but it was presented as a section of an IRS publication, and everybody says, "No way, that's true." But let's fill in the details of what this thing said, and then reveal the truth value thereof. So you've researched both of this, so I'm going to let you kind of lead this discussion. Have at it.
Excuse me while I put my head in my hands.
Anyway, while you do that, I'll eat one of these cookies.
Yes, sir. Nice cookies from Wilkerson, Moravian Bakery.
Yep,
look for them soon on the FAIRtax Marketplace.
Okay, I didn't mean to derail you there. Go ahead.
17. Well, it always throws me off when there's Moravian spice cookies around.
Okay.
Publication 17, Internal Revenue Service, Section 8, Other Income, and this talks about everything. It's a 140-page document that is accessible on the IRS.gov website, and it goes through everything that would be considered other income, other than like a W-2 or maybe a 1099 NEC or something like that. But they do cover all those things.
Yes,
for example,
these are basically instructions and stuff you need to know in order to fill out your tax return properly.
Right. And they'll tell you what it is that what they're looking for, and then they'll show you which form it needs to go on.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get back to what that meme was all about. Yeah. This is unbelievable. It really is actually an excerpt out of this publication.
Oh, yeah. And I'm scrolling down because I'm almost to the page now. And it was right near the end of Section 8. First of all, stolen property.
Yes.
If you steal property, you must report its fair market value in your income in the year you have stolen it, unless you return it to its rightful owner in the same year.
Okay, now this is not a Congress.gov proposal. These are actual IRS instructions for your 2021 tax return, and I want you to read that again, just in case somebody missed it the first time.
This is Chapter 8, Other Income. It's on page 140 pages now. It's on page 76, Stolen Property. Okay, and this brings a couple of questions up. I have a couple of questions already.
Okay.
If you steal property, you must report its fair market value in your income in the year you steal it, unless you return it to its rightful owner in the same year, which means it washes basically, like cash in, cash out.
Yes.
But my concern is, what if I, all of a sudden I said, well, I stole that guy's tire off the back because he really didn't need it. He only had 4 tires. He didn't need a fifth one. But I didn't give it. I took it on the 31st of December, and I didn't return it until the 5th of January. Is there how am I going to be, am I paying for the 5 days that I had the tire? And how would he know if I gave it back, if it wasn't just used for, if it just rolled down the hill behind his house?
Yeah.
So anyway, stolen property. Now, the other one that's interesting in this same category, and there's plenty. Let me tell you this, if you want some good reading when you don't have anything to do, this publication, especially chapter 8, is worth it. This is from page 75, just a page up from what we just read. Illegal activities. Now, we all know people are involved in illegal activities. Right. Income from illegal activities, such as money from dealing illegal drugs, must be included in your income on Schedule 1, Form 1040, line 8Z, or on Schedule C, Form 1040, if from your self-employment activity. In other words, if you're working for yourself, it's going on a different form than if you were running drugs for somebody else.
Okay. Now,
you gotta have a lawyerly approach to all of this, because it was written by attorneys more than likely.
I've got a question for you.
Okay.
How many drug dealers do you think are actually going to comply with those instructions?
Meanwhile, over at the hot house, be putting this back in. I don't know. Maybe do I put this on? Did you work for me last week, or did I work for you last week? And is it going to go on Form 1040 line 8Z, or is it going to go on Schedule C, Form 1040? It's a good thing we have these.
My guess is that it's not going to get reported on either of those forms, because drug dealers aren't going to be filing federal income tax returns.
But that's what I worry about, is how are they going to know? Are they going to start when you see it on TV all the time? They come in and they have the big metal ram thing.
Knock the door down.
They knock the door down. They come in and say, everybody freeze right there. Hit the dirt. Don't touch anything. We need to see your Schedule C, Form 1040. Before they bust everybody up and haul them out. They have to make sure. I just don't, this is this is our Internal Revenue Service at work.
Let me give you a quick preview of an article that Jim Bennett is writing for the Grassroots Corner. He has this series on how to deal with, potential hostile questions that people will ask. And he was tackling, or he will be tackling in a couple of weeks. I get an advanced copy of what he wrote. The idea of, the fair tax isn't fair to the poor because, it's just a straight sales tax, and it does more than that. But it's just insane what they're actually doing. They say, let's get rid of a system. If you were designing a system that allows for these kind of insanities, like reporting stolen property, requiring people to report stolen property, or requiring people to report their income from illegal activities, and actually expecting people to do that, what would you think of the intelligence of the folks who wrote that particular thing into the tax code?
So there's a committee meeting somewhere, the publication 17 committee meeting, and they're going, hey, you know what? I think we can probably round up a few yokels that are involved in the illegal drug trade, and maybe it's a percentage deal. It's kind of like robocalls. Eventually, somebody's going to answer and buy something from one of those robotic calls. So maybe they think that the people are going to, at some point in time, some guy's going to say, well, I guess I will go ahead and all those drugs I sold last year, I guess I am going to figure out how much I owe and come clean.
Yeah, but
immediately upon submission of your tax returns, about a week later, you get this. All right, Scarborough.
But the point I wanted to go on with the Jim Bennett's article was he made a note in that article that the fair tax will turn those tax evaders into taxpayers, because even those that are making their living by less than legal means, they have to buy things. And so they have to, and the fair tax is levied on everything you buy. So you're going to get taxes collected from the underground economy that we're doing there, and that's where Jim was going with that. But
absolutely, Yeah, I'm looking through this particular publication, and I haven't spent a whole lot of time in it because of the Christmas holidays, but came right out about a week ago, week in between Christmas and New Year's. We started seeing this show up legitimately. First, you were looking at it and you were going, "Man, was that really happening?" And then the news radio and TV stations started picking up on the whole concept of this, and yes, indeed, you do. Here it is. And so I was having a conversation with a very dear friend of mine the other day, and she's trying to explain to her daughter who's in the workforce, because her daughter's saying, okay, I got to save this amount of money during the course of the year, plus I get this taken out of my income, and then I do some other work here. And so she's trying to figure out how to how to make sure that at the end of the cycle on April 15th, that she is not behind the 8 ball, if that makes any sense. I mean, she comes out even and not owing anything.
Yeah.
And of course, very interested. She's a listener to the radio station, and she also listens to our program here on the radio station that I work at. And her concern was, how does the working poor get taken care of in this? And I explained to her the prebate, and and very, very smart young lady she is, and her daughter is a hard worker too. And I think people miss that reality when they go through and think about. The show is making impact. Obviously, the FAIRtax is out there. We're in a very critical midterm election. I think we have a lot of people that are paying attention from a candidate standpoint to the benefits of the FAIRtax. And again, it comes down to, how many people can you get in front of? 10 people can get in front of more people than one. And so that's where we come in to let people know. And those folks who are listening or watching, wherever you may happen to be, write down those 5 or 10 people that you know and let them know, and then have them call their representative and say, this is something that you all need to consider. And those candidates that are in your area, get the FAIRtax pledge. Make sure that you have a number of them in an envelope or a file folder, and place it in your vehicle, so that you may have a chance meeting with someone, or you may go to a gathering where the candidates are speaking, especially as we get in to the next couple of 3 months leading up to the primaries. It's an opportunity to take advantage of all of those people talking about the FAIRtax, saying FAIRtax, when people are going to go, wonder what that is. And I think, again, our radio show and the fact that we're on YouTube, et cetera, helps create that ongoing impression that is so critical to the advancement of the cause. And I believe we're in a climate in Washington where the bloom is off the rose, so to speak. And maybe that's not the right analogy, but that we are now able to kind of look at what's going on up there and say, wait, look, this now is the time to do it. And there should be enough pressure. You get the right candidates in office, they're going to be the ones to kind of drive the program forward. And more people are going to be saying FAIRtax. And now if we can just make sure that they don't say flat tax in the same.
Yes, that's true. Not at the same time.
Two different things.
Let me get one more quick point in here for this publication that just caught my eye as well. You've heard the saying that if you tax something, you get less of it. And so one of the things that law enforcement agencies need to solve cases are tips. So you'll see these 1-800-CRIME STOP. If you've got information about this, you can get a reward. But the IRS says, and again, this is on in this publication 17, if you receive a reward for providing information included in your income. How crazy. Okay, so I say
scholarship prizes won in a contest aren't scholarships or fellowships if you don't have to use the prizes for educational purposes. You must include these amounts in your income on Schedule 1, line 8H.
We could make 15 programs in a row, going through all this stuff. But the question is, which tax system would you rather have? One that relies on criminals reporting their activity and reporting their income, or a system that collects taxes from them when they buy things?
And imagine if that worked its way out.
That's a question. Which system would you rather have?
Yeah. Well, you know, I'd rather have. I'm all for the fair. I'd like to pay at the cash register. Thank you very much. I think I'd rather be in control of when I pay my taxes and how much I
Absolutely.
pay. That's the thing. And if the drug dealer who is in the year that he is incurring an income, and he gets arrested and basically taken out of making that income,
he's put out of business for a while.
Benefit? Yeah. Does he get some kind of benefit? And how does he make sure that in April 15th, when he's incarcerated, that his tax is going to be taken care of properly? And obviously the government would know exactly where he was.
I guess he could apply for unemployment benefits, which are also taxable. You include those in your income as well. So again, the Congress.gov segment that we do every week. Oh, this has got me. Mercy. Okay.
Have another spice cookie, Bob.
I'll get over this in a second, but it's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy, the tax system we have. And any logical, rational thinking person would have to believe that getting rid of everything we've been talking about this past half hour and replacing it with a simple consumption tax that you pay anonymously when you buy things is far, far and away the better way to do it. It makes taxpayers out of tax evaders. There is no downside to the fair tax.
Absolutely none. And as folks begin to kind of filter in and they go, fair tax. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. You know, you can get them away from the flat tax, which sounds a lot like, I mean, they're both, and people say them almost in the same breath, and it ain't the same thing, folks. It is not the same thing.
It's not. Did you see Newt Gingrich the other day? He was coming out in favor of the proposal in Georgia to replace Georgia's state income tax with a consumption tax modeled on the fair tax. And then in the next breath, he says, and we need a flat tax at the national level.
You kind of got to go wonder, you know, it's too easy to say fair tax and flat tax.
Yes,
those are the two ones that sort of bubble up to the top when people have a discussion. And I think it's a committal, non-committal for a lot of folks that are in the media or on TV a lot, that they don't want to have a soundbite that gives the impression that they're going in one direction or the other. So they say both of them at the same time.
Absolutely. I tell you what, we've just had all the fun we're legally allowed to have in our time slot today. So we're going to have to wrap up this edition of Fair Tax Power Radio. Be with us again next week for more. Until then, we are the Fair Tax Guys. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Bob Scarborough.
Reminding you that the fair tax is the only truly fair tax. And once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
So tell me how it works.
You know, it's probably changed since the last time I saw it, but the short answer would be, you want to take this one?
Oh, sure. Okay. Imagine bringing home everything you make. You don't get taxed for saving or accumulating wealth, and your boss doesn't get taxed more even if he pays you more.
Wow, see, that's amazing.
So the end result of all that is the cost of producing products and running a business goes down, so things cost less. And on top of all that, imagine every criminal, non-citizen, and under-the-table worker also paying taxes.
That's amazing.
That's the fair tax. We tax what you consume as you consume it.